Alright, well, welcome to three-point perspective. I'll try something a little different this time. I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to be working toward. Alright, and I'm going to show you, then we're going to back up and actually put it into play. So with three-point perspective, you have three vanishing points. You have an A, B, and now down here at the bottom, you have a C. Now we're going to do a two-part tutorial. In tutorial 1, I'm going to show you how to do this, creating this huge amount of depth, like this falling away effect. And then we're going to stop, and then I'll do another tutorial where I'm actually going to show you how to create the flip of that, where you create toward the sky, just like that, without that extra stuff here at the bottom. So here, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn the page. Now as I do this, I know we've done tutorials like this before. Please work at your own pace. You are not you don't need to sit there and follow along with me. You can go forward and back a little bit, but if you miss something, go back and get it. All right. Now the whole purpose of doing these videos is to make sure that you get the right information in the right speed that you need it. All right. Now the first thing I want to do is go ahead and establish my horizon line. I am going to put that in the upper third of my picture plane. All right. And as I've said before, when I introduce this, we're going to have two vanishing points, the A and the B. A is on this side, B is on that side. But then the C, I'm going to put down here toward the bottom, all right, of my picture. All right. Now I'm not in the crease, but I'm a little bit to the right of the crease, so I have a little bit of extra room to play with. Now, as you saw from the image a second ago, all right, what we want to do is create the top section first. All right. Now this is very similar to two-point. All perspectives kind of build on each other. They have things in common, and there's things that they change. And this one, the stuff that's in common are the diagonal lines that are going to go both left and right. All right. Now, since we are going to do this this tutorial as if you're on top of a building, kind of looking down, what I want to do is go ahead and establish the roof area. All right. And to do that, I want to connect across the page, but then I want to kind of bisect, all right, those lines as it comes across the page. All right, so I made these two long lines, those two there, this one and this one. All right, then to create this line here, all right, this is guided toward the B vanishing point. All right, now right now we don't need these, but I'm not going to erase them just yet because I may come back and add to them in 1 second. Now, at this point, this is where three-point perspective changes a little bit. All right. If this was two-point, I would just draw the line straight down and we'd be happy as larks. All right. But in three-point tells me that I gotta grab these corners and then drag them down too. All right. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab that edge. I'm going to drag in that direction. Then I'll come over here and grab this, and I'll drag in this direction. Alright, just made me a V. Hoorah! Alright, actually it's a triangle. Then I'm going to go set my ruler to my C, and I'm going to go get that back angle right there. So I'll go grab it, drag down toward the bottom section. Alright, so what I have now, I have a basically upside down pyramid. Hoorah! Good start to this. Now, that's a great start. Alright, we'll celebrate our victories, but I also want to keep going. Alright, so as you saw in the other piece, I do want to break up this wonderful pyramid that we've created. Alright, so I'm going to break it up into a top and to a bottom. Now, I just basically picked the space, didn't really rule out anything. Alright, but what I did do is make sure that wherever I want this top, or actually it's the bottom of this to happen, I want to set that angle toward the A vanishing point. Now I'll do the same thing here. I'll go wherever those lines meet. Alright, I'll set that up to the B side, and then I'm going to draw back in that direction. Pretty cool so far, right? Alright, so now I've got this kind of looks like an eye, really. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and make this into an eye. Alright, so this is the top kind of dot on the eye, And then I'm going to go ahead and make the bottom the longer stick. So I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to reach down into the depths, all right, close to that vanishing point, and I'm going to put that little section there. Now, I'm going to turn the ruler, go ahead and develop my space on the B side, draw this line back, and then way down here, make sure that line sets up, and then I'm going to draw in that direction. Alright, look pretty good. Now, I do see a couple things that I want to add on to, but first, before I do that, I need to disconnect this bottom section from the top, because I don't want that confusing us. So I know that this is a solid. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and say sayonara to this little section, that little section, and this back one. Alright, now if I erase too much, alright, take your pencil, go back in there and fix it. No big deal. Alright, so now you should see this top kind of dot of the I separating from the bottom. Now what I'm worried about is I don't have this section here. I don't have the top. Alright, now the top basically comes from going and grabbing the ruler, connecting that corner toward the vanishing point, and then letting that tuck underneath that big tall dot. Alright, I call it a dot. It's just the top of your eye. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Connect that in that direction. Alright, now since this is sitting over top of it, it should be throwing a shadow. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and put some shadows in. Now I'm going to ask that you pick which way to shade this, and then be consistent. Alright, I'm shading toward the B side. If you want to shade toward the A, start here and work that direction. No big deal. But as you come out of this open space, alright, don't let it turn. Keep the illusion going and shade in the same direction you shaded out here. Now, as we've done in past projects, we start with the basic box, but then we need to add to that. Alright, and to add to it, what I want to do is first I want to make some kind of protrusion. I want to cut into or open up our top little eye up here. So to do that, I'm going to start with the C, because we don't have a whole lot of practice with the C, so I'm going to start with that first. Alright, now just like in 1-point perspective and in 2-point, we always worry about the taller line. Alright, the taller line really sets our angle. So right now what I want to do is make sure that I have some good space, move up to the bottom of that taller line, and then I want to connect toward that A vanishing point. Alright, then I'm going to come up into the top of that taller line, connect, check, and make sure I have the right space here, and then I'm going to draw in that direction. Alright, now I like that, but I think Starzo made a mistake. Alright, and the great thing about making mistakes is, especially in graphite, is we can fix them. So I don't want to have that much space on one side and not that much space on the other. So let's open this little puppy up. Now kudos to you if you made that observation before I did. But if you didn't, no worries. Alright, because I'm actually going to use part of that line here in a second. Alright, so you can kind of already see what I did, even though I moved it back. Alright, I really just want to put in that second line. So if you were with me the second time around and you'd already done that, then really what we want to do is go ahead and put in that interior line right there. Alright, then it's going to be two quick small little lines that we're going to need. We're going to need the depth line. Alright, so we got to create the depth, so that needs to go to the B side. Alright, and then we got to get this bottom edge, and all you do is wherever those two lines intersect, and that's why I left that little bit there so you can see it, scooch up your ruler, lay up that line, and then bam. Alright, so that gets you your depth to your piece. And just because we shaded that part down there, let's go ahead and shade this one. Now, I am going to, like I said, stress that you be consistent. So with this one, this up and down one, let's go ahead and go toward the C. So I'm going to shade up and down toward the C just like that. So at this point, it should look like I've taken my finger and been able to push in a little bit on that box. Now that is a protrusion. We've pushed in, we're protruding into that piece. Now let's go ahead and toward the bottom, on the bottom part of the eye, let's make a projection. Let's make something look like it's coming out of that. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and set that angle. Alright, since I already have my rulers that way. Now at this point, I want to connect and make myself another little french fry or another little triangle. Alright, down toward the C side. Now I don't want it to go all the way down. Alright, so I'm going to come here pretty much like this. I'm going to throw in that extra line, and then I'm going to play cleanup for a second. I don't need any of that information right there. Now, whoops, got rid of that. Let's fix that part. Now also, since this is a projection, I don't need this part right here either. Alright, so I got rid of that. Now, that's like one flat plane of projection. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's throw on some depth. So I'm going to go to my B side there. I'm going to go to my B side here. Now, don't forget, you also have to go to the B side down here toward the bottom. Alright, so let that be a good warning to you. Throw that in. Alright, now, at this point, alright, the depth of this line really will be dictated by the top. So I'm going to go make sure I've got this connected down to the C, and then whoosh. Alright, that looked pretty good. And the depth of this side, alright, gets stopped by going toward the A. Alright, and then I have this little pesky line to get rid of there. Gone. Alright, so what I pushed in here sort of pops out right there. Alright, pretty cool so far, right? So when I was talking a second ago about possibly being on top of like a bird on top of a wire looking down. Alright, so now you can see how we're kind of scaling down toward the bottom. Alright, so this is the ground level here, so everything looks scaling toward the bottom. Now, I know it's awesomely cool, but as in all things, we got to keep moving. So I'm going to go grab another line and then a buddy toward the C. Now I do want to put in a couple of lines here because I want to do something very similar to this. Alright, there's one line, there's two lines, and then I'll throw in a third just to break that up. Now I did leave a good chunk of space here so that we can see a little bit more on the top. So as we've done before, let's go ahead and erase out a couple of these extra lines so that we don't need them. Now what I just erased, please be careful. Alright, I've got a rectangle here and a rectangle there. Now it may not look like it, but these two are two separate angles. So this comes one way and then that's kind of peering the other. Please be super careful with that so that you don't get mistaken and make this a completely a triangle this way. This is guiding toward the vanishing point, but there's also a slight turn to give that all four sides. Alright, now let's go ahead and start creating depth. Alright, our depth in this project goes to the B side. So there's one. Then I want to come up here to the top. Now this is where I kind of pre-planned to leave those lines. So once my B comes once my B comes this way, alright, that creates my top line, pesky little groove, and then I'll go out here to this outside edge and I will grab that little bit of a line. Alright, so now that I've got that in and rework that, alright, see I've got my box formed. Oh, wait a second. Alright, we don't have this corner back here laid in. Oh, I just about jumped the gun on that one, didn't I? Alright, so go grab this. Alright, set that angle toward the C and then draw on that little bit. Make sure not to break that edge. And then while I have that eraser handy, I'll erase that out so that fully forms my box. Now, when I look at that, that's pretty cool. Look at that box in front of that one. Kind of go back into space a little bit. Kind of looks like some robots taking shape. Alright, now I've got 3 boxes. I got a projection and a protrusion. Alright, but I forgot my little box down here. Alright, so let's go ahead and get him laid in. So we've got the front facade. Alright, we've got everything guiding that direction. So now we need to go ahead and get depth. Now, as we talked before, and I may have mentioned this already, but anything here, this box, once we make it, and that's what we've done the last 2, once we make that, that is the permanent box. That is the solid box. Alright, everything else is kind of subordinate to that. So see here, we stop there. This line stopped there. These lines are kind of hidden, so we don't see those things. So don't draw through these boxes when we get there. Alright, so let's go ahead. Let's set up this top corner. Alright, this is the area I'm working in. I got that angle set. I'm going to draw until I hit that upper box. Alright, now don't let this extra line here confuse you. That's not supposed to be there. Alright, I tried to erase it a second ago and I guess I didn't get it fully. So I'm going to go not to where that extra line connects, but I want to go to where this changes angles. So this comes down and then changes toward the C. So I'm going to get that corner. Bam, draw that. And then last but not least, there's a little small section down here at the bottom. Got to make sure it gets drawn upward toward that vanishing point. Alright, now at this point I should not need any extra lines, so I'm going to go ahead as we did before. I'm going to stay consistent and I'm going to shade in this top part. Now please feel free, if you think that's too much overlapping, because I need to go in and put a darker line right there. If that's too much overlapping of one value set, alright, go back in, crosshatch this. Alright, that's already going that direction, that's already driving my eye this way. So if I come back in and do that, that's not going to change my visual perception. That just makes it a little darker, and this makes this and this a little bit different. Alright, so at this point, I do need to, and I forgot to erase this one, Sturgill. Gotta get those extra lines in there, buddy. Alright, so got rid of that. So now you have 4 boxes. Alright, now I'm going to keep going on this side, only because I want you to be able to see how really slanted this becomes. Alright, because this becomes the part, this becomes the hardest part. Most people can get this. Alright, once you kind of follow through with this, that is not the issue. The big issue comes as we start getting out toward the A and B, and these start stretching and becoming super elongated. Alright, then you have real issues. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab 2 of those lines like that. Alright, I've already got the top, and then I'm going to set my A here and get the bottom. Look how extreme that is. Alright, and this is where, like I said, lots of people have issues, alright, because that becomes really obtuse to them. Alright, know that there's an edge there, and then it changes direction. Alright, just like we had down here, alright, this is much more extreme. This almost looks like it's bowing in because that angle is so severe. Alright, now at this point, let's get our depth. Depth goes in there, and then we come up here to the top. We do our little crisscrossy thing that we've done in the past. So crisscross that way, and then we come up here to this section, crisscross that way, and then last but not least, we crisscross, actually not crisscross, we just drop the depth toward our C line, and then we erase. Now at this point, what I would like you to do is go ahead and try working the other side. Alright, now for this tutorial I'm not going to go ahead and do anything on the other side. I'm going to let you do that. Alright, but I would like to see you add 2 more buildings, or 2 more sets of blocks on this side. Alright, so you should continue down the B side. So I'll put a little arrow here, 2 more sets down this way. Alright, add some projections and protrusions. Alright, so don't let those just sit there and be boxes. Alright, you can always cut into these. Alright, you can separate those, but do play around with that and try some different things. Alright, so this concludes 3-point perspective in the lower region. Alright, I'm going to take a short break and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to do a 2-point perspective on the upper side. Alright, thank you very much guys. Keep sketching, keep adding to this, and we'll see you guys back in class on Tuesday.